Down here in the glamour sand dunes at the final of the Rebel Rally 2022, and we were going to call this Coffee with Katy, but after 7 days in the desert chasing all of these rebels, I've renamed it Margaritas and Maps.
Yes.
And I'm stoked to be here with Bryn Hinn today, who competed in 2018. Where are you working at the moment, Bryn? You were with Mapbox when you competed. Where are you now?
Now I'm at a company called Niantic, and I lead AR mapping product marketing for them.
Fantastic.
Yeah, if you know them, they're the Pokemon Go app company, if you ever played with them.
I haven't, but my kids do. That sounds really fun.
Yeah.
So you competed in 2018, and what Margaritas and Maps is trying to unfold here today is a little bit of backstory about how the Rebel affects people's lives. And I know for you in particular, at the end of the Rebel that you competed in, you had a really pivotal change in your life. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, when I went into the Rebel, I was a young married person. My husband had just left me that Christmas, and I got assigned to do the Rebel for work. I drove a Honda Civic Hybrid. I didn't know how to do any of this, and my husband at the time basically said, you can never do that. You don't know how to get your way around DC, and it's a grid city. And so when my boss brought it up, I was like, I think I can do it. I'm going to show him. We'll see. But I was really struggling. I was like, I don't know who I am. My worth is like a 2 out of 10. I'm confused. Who am I now? And I guess I'll just dive headfirst into this competition and see what happens. And I came through the Rebelle realizing, like, oh no, I was in a terrible, abusive and narcissistic relationship, and got to, through 8 days in the desert and 2 months of training, really realized, like, oh, I'm adventurous. I can solve things. I know how to put myself through the ringer and come out stronger, and this will just be another test for me. And it was because of Rebelle that I figured that out.
Now, I know that when we come out of the Rebelle, all of our staff and competitors are like, there's a hangover, and we're all a little bit starry-eyed.
Yeah.
And then when the dust settled, like, when did that happen for you? Did you come out immediately and know that, or was it a few months later? How did it work out?
I think it was like in stages. I think it was my day 5. I was in the middle of Johnson Valley, and I was confident that I had found my first black checkpoint, like right in the middle of the bullseye. I was like, I've got this. I am an incredible navigator. It's wonderful. And right as I'm about to click the tracker, my teammate so gently leans out of the car, and she's like, hey. And it's just one of those heys you don't want to hear. And I'm like, what? She goes, you mapped off the county line, not the map line. And I'm like, oh, no. And I was like, okay, I need one moment. And I was standing in the desert with my hand on my stupid astronaut looking hat. And I'm like, why am I doing this? He was right. I couldn't do this. I couldn't figure it out. Like, I should never have come on this. And I'm thinking about myself just looking like a Jetson and having a drone fly over. And I'm like, no, I'm in the desert. I can figure this out. And so we came back, we mapped it, and we ended up going just a few minutes away, found the black checkpoint. It wasn't right in the bullseye, but seeing my score, I was like, okay, I can push through things. And that was like the first win. But then when I got home, I actually just started writing. One of the things that happened during the Rebelle is that I didn't have my phone to disassociate anymore.
Yep.
And I had to kind of process each day so that I went more refreshed into the next one. I would just journal until it basically fell asleep, and some of the text is horrible. But I took that with me, and I was like, let me write down this experience. And as I was processing through it, I realized, like, there's so many things that I was hiding about myself or not trying, and because of the Rebelle, it gave me a chance to figure that out. And once, about a year later, when I was watching the next one, I published it, and I was really just hit by how much
So you published a book from it?
I published some chapters. I'm still in the middle of the book, but I published the Rebelle chapter first because I just wanted to show the emotional side as well as the competition side that it does.
And I love what you said about the disassociation with devices. Like, all of these competitors, their phones, computers, anything that's digital is taken away from them up in Tahoe. And it wasn't until last night that they get them back. And some women actually say, I don't want my phone right now because I'm enjoying this break. And you think that played a part in how it affected you?
Huge part. I never have a chance in life to only focus on one problem for 8 days at a time. Like, there's a Slack message, there's an email, there's a text. I can go solve that and, like, feel like I have a win. And this was, you had to be present with your mind and your challenge each day, and then come back and see people who did it way better than you or did it worse, and see all of them kind of collaborating. And that really changed the way that you process and think through things, because it wasn't just
it's not that dopamine hit.
Yeah,
that
I
we
didn't
all go
have
for.
that dopamine. It was different.
It's so true. I don't think we all realise that this feels like we're getting somewhere, and quite often we're not. Now, one question I'm asking everyone today is, now that we've called this Margaritas and Maps, what is a map in your life that has shown a pivotal change? And this is why you're my first guest, because it's tattooed on her wrist. How cool is this? Can we, like...
I'll show you. You kind of see
there
that.
We go.
Yeah, so I came out of the Rebelle. It's not exactly a map. It is a compass rose, but I never really learned about true north and magnetic north before, and I kind of always went with the flow. And this idea of, in mapping, heading and distance never lie, you need to understand where you are in the world before you can make a move, was a lesson that I took with me. And so I wanted to remind myself when I felt lost in a relationship or work or just in a challenge in life to stop, figure out where you are, and then keep moving. But not just run into it, because that's when you get lost and you're not really figuring out why you're doing something, and you might want to go back.
Where you are first.
Yeah.
So a lot of people think that this competition is a week long and then we don't think about it anymore. But metaphorically, you find your true north in so many different ways and then relate it back to the event.
Yeah.
And that's so. Let's move on to your next relationship, because I find this really cool. Fun fact. So Bryn's fiance saved up for the. Am I allowed to say this on live TV?
You can.
He's saved up for the ring, and she told me 2 days ago that he's put some of that money aside so that you can compete next year.
Yeah, so he is incredible. His name's DJ. We actually met at Matt Bucks. We didn't tell them until after we left. Sorry, HR. But he has been encouraging me ever since. The way he met me was seeing my Rebel pictures from work. So he's always seen me as like a badass, never seen me as anything less. And for years since we've been together, he's been like, you should go back on the Rebel, and like, text Emily, find out about this, go. And so Emily asked me to come out and work, and I'm like, oh, I have a project, maybe I can't. He's, you're going. I'm like, okay, I'll go. And right as I left, he was like, hey, I wanted to let you know, I actually saved more for the ring. We've only been engaged about a month, and I was going to tell you at Christmas, but I would like you to take the rest of it and go on the Rebel.
Oh my gosh, he sounds amazing.
He's awesome.
So going into this new relationship, how are you approaching it differently?
Yeah.
Like, it sounds to me like in your work life and in your relationships, we've got a bit of a boundary marker going on. Talk us through that a bit.
So that started both with Rebel and with my partner. There's this great thing that Emily teaches you, like the navigator's office is here and you are here and you don't cross this line. And so she was really good at the beginning, asking, like, how do you process stress? What are your boundaries? How do you think through things? And it made me realize, like, those are questions I want to know about myself before I enter into a relationship again. And seeing how it worked on the Rebel and changed the way that we work together, whereas other teams may not have had that conversation, it was a little bit more stressful. I went back into work and I was like, no, I know what I can solve. I know what I can figure out. When someone questions that, I need to sit back and see if they're accurate and not just believe what they're saying about me and push back. So I found myself way more comfortable like 2 months after pushing back on our SVP of engineering when he was trying to make a decision, whereas before I would have stressed about it for weeks and never said anything.
Second guessed. How old are you?
I am 32. I was 28 at the time of the Rebel.
So to start figuring these things out at 32 is fantastic. I think a lot of people don't think about boundaries until sometimes it's way too late. So it sounds like the Rebel has had a fantastic impact on your life.
And incredible.
And I'm really excited. Do you know who you're going to compete with next year?
I'm very inspired by Chris and Emily Benzie, so I would like to ask my mom to do it. I'll see if she will. But she has said she couldn't navigate her way out of a paper bag, and I just don't think that's true. We might not win, but I would love to see her like driving and figuring it out and getting to experience that at 65 like I got to experience it at 28.
Well, I think you've just put it out there. So, Mom, if you're listening, I think I'm going to meet you this time next year.
Hopefully.
Well, is there anything else you want to share with us? I think you are the perfect first interview for Margaritas and Maps. Thank you.
Yeah, the last thing I would say is if you're thinking about this, you can do it. If I can do it in a Honda Civic Hybrid from 2009 and then get into a Jeep and feel comfortable in all types of terrain, anybody can. Just spend some time training and you'll find a whole new worth on life, but also get to meet some incredible women.
Thank you so much. You're an inspiration. Let's take a look at some pictures from throughout the week while we find our next guest. welcome back. So I spent the whole week with Emmy Hall, driver, and I'm really stoked to be here with her navigator, Rebecca Donaghey. Now, Rebecca and Emmy podiumed year 2. They won their division year 3 and 4, and they also brought the EV designation into life, right?
Vehicle and helped pioneer that designation with the other team, Rachel Radnow and the PHEV, but we brought the very first all-electric Rivian, and that was a nice
and
beta
Rebecca's
test.
an original Rebelle and had
Correct.
done the Rebelle every year up until this year, which has been great having Emmy on to talk to us about what's going on in terms of being a driver, but we'll get to that in a second. I understand you and Emmy just did, what was the monkey run?
Oh.
What is this all about?
Yes, we did 1,100 kilometers across Mongolia on. Yes, exactly. Each of us on a 50cc motorbike, which is basically a child's pit bike.
And Emmy said, well, this will be easy, and all I've heard all week is, this is not easy. And next time Rebecca says we're going to do something like this, I'll drive the RV and chaperone it.
Yeah, I kind of dragged her along with it because it's something I'd been planning for about 2.5 years, and convinced her to come with it. And yeah, you underestimate how difficult it is because they're just little bikes. You're like, no big deal. But I trained with Jimmy Lewis.
Did Emmy?
No.
So we've seen pictures. I'm in a fitness group with Emmy, and we've just seen pictures of Emmy like sprawled around on the desert with this little toddler bike.
Yes. At one point, because we were both on comms, we had 2 other people that we adopted as we went, and they came along with us. So I'd be at the front. I'm reading the nav app. I'm watching what's ahead of me. Emmy's in the back. We're giving each other information. I'm telling her, you're like, oh, you want to go to the left? Oh, there's potholes here. Oh, this is really deep sand or whatever. And in the back, she's like, oh, Natalie fell. Oh, I'm down. And at a certain point, it was I would immediately stop and be like, "Is everybody okay? Everyone cool? Do I need to come back?" You're like, "No." But then once
Rebecca's
it was like,
"I'm good.
I'll just wait up here." But she, "Oh no, you need to come back." And I'm like, "Oh God, she's had a bad fall." So I turn around and I ride back, and she's just there with the bike across there and stuff. And I'm like, "Oh my God, are you okay?" She goes, "Yeah, can you take my picture?"
So you can only do things like this with good friends. And you didn't know Emmy before the Rebelle, right?
I did not. The Rebelle hooked us up because we each lost our partner about a month before the very first one, and we both wanted to do it so badly. And the Rebelle was like, well, hey guys, you both lost partners. Do you know each other? And Emmy and I knew of each other. We'd met maybe 30 minutes. And we're like, okay, we'll see. We interviewed each other. I'd heard lots of great things from her previous navigator, which is Sabrina Howells, who was committed to another team that year.
Yep.
And so we're like, okay, let's do it. So the first time we were competed together, first time we spent any time together was 12 hours in the car figuring out this first time Rebelle. Nobody knew what to expect, and it was all brand new for everybody.
And now you're like sisters.
Yeah.
That's what the Rebelle's all about. You have, if I go to a new state, I'll always call Emily and say, hey, are there any Rebelles in this country or state? And you can call them.
Yeah.
I just had a drink with Sarah Stewart in
Oh.
Hawaii.
The community is amazing because you come out of this with great adventure buddies, with great just social friends, but it is like you're dragged through some pretty tough stuff, and then you make it on the other side. As much as you're competing, you're competing against each other, but you're competing together. And it's such a great community, and everyone helping each other it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Different than other competitions, really, other motorsports, because the teams are allowed to help each other, and you help each other get across that finish, whether it's the finish line or the next checkpoint or
And
the
here
end.
in the dunes, it's really important. We saw yesterday teams team up so that they can recover in the sand. Now, we've had some comments from all of the navigators. We've had Matthew Johnson and Emmy Hall as our hosts all week, and they're drivers. And what I've heard from the navigators is we've had a lot of driver-splaining going on. So one of the reasons I wanted Rebecca up here is to tell her side of the story as a navigator and kind of balance it out a little bit. So can you talk to me a little bit about why the driver-splaining was happening?
It's so funny because, we're at home and we're like, and they're going to explain the tools that the navigators use. And then it's like, okay, so this, and you measure with this, and then this thing, it tells you which direction to go. And we're like, wait, what? We wish it were that simple. Or wait, that's not what that does. What are you doing? We're like, they really don't understand what we do. It's so complicated. It is a giant chess game, but every little thing that we as navigators do, it's super nerdy. It's why they are like, yeah. Anyway, it's that stuff.
The brains of the organization.
Let's get the fun stuff going. But the navigator, this is one of the things about this particular competition versus other motorsports as well, is the co-driver and a lot of the other motorsports, that it's the driver that's, celebrated.
Driver won. This guy won.
This guy won, and they like co-driver, blah, blah. But in this particular competition, the navigator is so important. The type of competition this is requires, you can't win this without a great navigator. You can't. And so the people who have won it are really wonderful navigators and a good driver.
Yeah. And it's the symbiosis, if that's the right word. Is that a word?
Sure.
Okay, it is today. Between the navigator and the driver. Like yesterday I heard about 2 teams where the navigator had never been in the sand dunes. So the driver just dumped them in the sand dunes. And it's like there's these moments all day long where you have to trust Emmy's driving with your navigation and vice versa.
It's always vice versa. It's both ways, because you're making strategic decisions together all throughout the rally, no matter what the terrain. You as a navigator, you've got to be really accurate with your plots, using all those lovely tools, really accurate with your measurements, really accurate with your decisions on how to approach these points. But you do all of that in conjunction with in cooperation with your driver, of what they're capable of, what they're comfortable with, what you're comfortable with being able to keep up with navigating, and what the vehicle is capable of, just based on what the terrain is. So it's a constant knowing and learning each other, and it's also psychological. But once you're out here in the dunes, it's totally psychological, especially for the drivers, because it's really hard to navigate it here. It is really difficult to drive and be safe and feel good and stay in the right frame of mind, because once these dunes get in your head, it's really difficult to pull yourself out of that.
I'm going to ask you about this. A few weeks ago, maybe a few months ago, these two decided that they were going to come out and train together. And Emily tells all rebels, you cannot go across the dunes from east to west. Is it east to west?
The dunes go diagonal, so it's almost like a north. You can't go southwest to northeast, or whatever.
And it's a hard rule. Don't do it. So these two get out there. They've won a few times, and they're like, well, we can go this far, this far. Well, nobody's done it. We can do it.
Well, they don't know us.
We got it.
Someone's got to be able to do it. Like, we can do that. So we were like, let's try to go to China Wall from over here, and we'll just make it all the way across. We'll make it out. We were in a Gladiator by ourselves, and it was I'm pretty sure it was August. It was 100-something degrees. And we got stuck. We got stuck in a bowl. So terrible that we spent hours getting out of one stuck situation.
Like going like 2 feet,
we'd
then 2 feet.
Dig for 5 minutes and try and move, and then we'd move our max tracks, and we'd get back in the vehicle and say 20 minutes, and oh my God, and then back out 5 more minutes, and then 20 minutes of rest, and 5 more minutes, 20 minutes of rest, and we finally get our butts out of there. And now it's in Emmy's head, and then you've got to get out of those dunes, those big dunes, all the way back the way we came. We're like, I guess you can't do that. We're like, oh my God. So we're going into competition after that, and we're like, okay, so what have we learned? We're arrogant, and we need to get that in check, because we basically 127 hours ourselves. We're out there. The guy who went climbing or trekking by himself and did a little climbing, and he ended up a rock fell on his arm. He ended up having to saw his arm off to get out of there.
We sawed our arm off.
So we're constantly like, okay, here's what we got to make sure we do. We check ourselves. Like, we can't be overconfident. Are we going to be sawing our arm off later because
Emily understands the egos that are involved in it. It's human nature, right? And I understand that yesterday she put in a couple of ego checkpoints, and the goal was, are these women going to go for this checkpoint and check their egos, or are they going to be smart and go further down the course? And I think that might have been the difference between some of the points yesterday.
Yeah.
Well,
it's pretty amazing.
You've really personified friendship in the Rebelle, because you guys are still friends after that experience.
Always, yes. And going to Mongolia, that's one of the things, is that we didn't compete this year, but we've got so many other. This rally sets you up to be able to do so many more adventures, and it's one of the things that it's done for me, where I'm adventuring more on my own. I'm doing crazy trips and adventures, and I texted Emily before I left for Mongolia. I was like, it's because of you. It's because of the confidence and the competence and the self-sufficiency that I can take on these adventures with confidence, not arrogance, not some arm off.
No matter what level, even if you're a rookie, you'll be taken under the wing of people that have done it a lot of times, like you and Emmy. So
true.
it's, you don't have to be a top 10 competitor to learn and develop the friendships that we have here in the Rebelle. Well, thank you so much for joining me.
And I'm sorry, I didn't mean a great navigator and just a good driver, because we have amazing drivers, but you can't do it. You can't do it without
You need both.
Yeah,
it's teamwork.
It's really great. It's that balance is so unusual in motorsports. So it's really amazing.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
See you at the gala tonight. Appreciate it. So let's take a look at some more clips, videos from our week here on the Rebelle Rally 2022. Welcome back. I'm here with Ashley Lee, our VIP media host, and she competed in 2016, 18 and 19. Now, one thing I always say on the rally is the depth of competitors is everything from CEOs to Uber drivers. And I never really knew who the Uber driver was. And just a few days ago, I learned that it was Ashley Lee. And when she competed in her first year, she was working in education for REI, and she supplemented to pay for her entry fee driving Ubers, which I just think is fascinating. And then she's had a full progression right through to now working on our team. So talk to me a little bit about that journey, having to drive Ubers to get to the Rebelle. I just love that.
Thank you. Yeah. I knew this was something that I wanted to do and something I was passionate about. And so, I was working full-time at REI. And between the hours of 10 p.m. and 6 a.m., I would drive Uber and Lyft, sleep a few hours here, sleep a few hours there for 6 months so I can pay for my entry fee, because I knew it was something that I really, really wanted to do. So it was really great to come here and actually think, oh my gosh, all the lack of sleep was totally worth it. And actually kind of prepared me for the lack of sleep that we get on the Rebelle as well.
And then that folded you into the community.
Yes.
And for the next year, I heard you say that you were riding on the coattails, and in a really cool way, because once you're in the Rebelle community, then people want to support you. And so you came in and you worked with another team, and they kind of helped you with paying for that and getting in. So talk about that next year.
Yeah, absolutely. So just being here and showing my face and showing my commitment and hard work that I'm willing to do. So for 2018 and 2019, 2 women have identified me as a potential navigator, because I did really well for our first year navigating. And so they're like, we want to be in the Rebelle, and we think it's important, so can you please be our navigator, and I'll pay your way. And that happened twice, and I'm so grateful and just so appreciative of those 2 particular women, and just really fortunate for the experience in developing all the friendships. And so I feel like these women that are already successful in life and in the Rebelle, they kind of held my hand a little bit, and so I was riding on their success. And
So I've asked everyone today to bring to the table a map, and it doesn't have to be a paper map. It could be a person, like someone that's guided you, a book that's motivated or inspired you. And I heard you say earlier in your roadmap of Rebelle that you had a point in your career where you said, I can do bigger things. And
Yes.
that sounds pivotal to me.
Yes.
So talk us through that, like when you finally stood up, put your hands on your hips and said, I can pay for this.
Yes, yeah. So, this is 7 years in the making. This is our 7th year of the Rebelle, and I feel like the Rebelle was the tipping point for me to decide, am I going to leave REI? What is that going to look like? What does that leap of faith look like? And at the end of the day, I was like, you know what? I've done the Rebelle. If I can do the Rebelle, I can do anything. And so I'm a real estate agent now in Las Vegas, and doing that huge jump from outdoor education to real estate is not a natural progression at all. And so that was very scary. But, thinking about all the successful women and all of the amazing things that I see, I'm like, you know what, I can do it. Why not? That's the worst thing that's going to happen. So I feel like the Rebelle was the tipping point for me to make those bold moves, those big decisions. And as I continue to be a real estate agent, it's a very difficult business.
Hell yeah.
And with the high emotions of real estate and the Rebelle has prepared me, because there's high emotions here in the competition. And so I'm like
dips, and it's like
Yes.
I think we look at all these women as mentors sometimes,
100%.
no matter what stage you're in. If I'm talking to Dolly, the mom yesterday, I'm like, I need to talk to you about my teenagers, who are amazing, by the way. Hi, guys. But it's like you wanted autonomy and financial independence,
Yes.
and we inspire each other. So I think a lot of people look at the Rebelle and they're like, well, that's an expensive holiday for housewives sometimes.
Yeah.
And it is so not. First of all, if you're doing this, you're a badass, or you're progressing towards that. And finding that autonomy and independence, Ashley is a prime example of that. Now, can you talk to me a little bit about, so we all know that if you do the rally, you're running one rally. If you're on staff, you're running another.
Yes.
And so she's progressed right onto staff, and she's actually taking care of all our VIPs, the perfect person to do it. Talk to me about the difference in the staff versus competitor rally.
I feel like there's not a whole lot of difference between the two.
They're both quite hard.
Yeah, it's very, very difficult. But I think the reason why I continue to come back and back is I get to see the faces of all the women. I get to relive my own Rebelle experience. But yeah, the lack of sleep is still the same. The running around, the fluster of trying to make sure everyone's taken care of, they're drinking enough water. For VIP hosts, a lot of folks have never been to the desert. We actually have one guest that's never been on the West Coast before. And so having that gentle introduction to, letting them know, hey, thank you so much for being here. This is a huge commitment that you have made to come out here and make sure they feel 100% comfortable, feel they, either physically, emotionally, and mentally, because there's a lot of energy here. It's a lot of amazing energy, and to come into this, it's not an easy feat. So my role here on the VIP Media Host is to make sure that people feel welcome and they feel they have the network and connections they're here for. They understand what the Rebelle experience is about, and they understand really why we're all here, because it's not a normal thing to come out in the middle of nowhere in the desert, 100-degree heat, and see all these women laughing and crying, and it's a lot. And so it's a amazing pleasure for me to experience.
It's a long way from being an Uber driver.
100%.
And I think that your job might get a little more difficult, because based on the knowledge I'm getting, and every person has a different weather app, but I believe there's a really big storm heading our way, and we might be in quite a few inches of rain here shortly. So good luck VIPing that.
Yes.
And thank you so much for your
Thank
time.
you.
And we'll see you at the gala tonight, which
Yes.
happens on what day are we? I've forgotten.
10.
Day 10.
Yeah.
So day 10 of the Rebel Rally, we have an amazing gala hosted by Drew Dickman and his crew. And I'm really looking forward to the menu tonight.
Yes.
So with that, we're going to we're ending this segment of Margaritas and Maps, no longer Coffee with Katy, while I go find another guest. Thank you so much, babe.
Thank you so much.
Hi, welcome back. I'm here with Liesl Perez, who is Head of Corporate Marketing at one of our partners, Mapbox. Now, as you all know, this is a completely analogue event. Way back in Tahoe, we took off all devices from every single competitor, and the only thing they have right through the desert is a map and a compass. But without Mapbox and Iridium and all our partners that support our backbone, we really couldn't do this. So today we're not talking so much about what our partners do. We're talking about why you keep coming back to the Rebel. What is it about the Rebel that Mapbox loves?
You know, I think what it is that we really love this idea of unlocking adventure. And when you think about the kinds of customers that build on Mapbox, I mean, from Strava to Rivian to all of these different kinds of companies, they really are enabling people to find things that they couldn't find before. I think especially now after the pandemic, everyone's looking for some magic.
Yes.
And, the thing is it can't be magical if you don't feel safe.
This is true.
So the Rebel is like just a perfect just example of how this entire event is made possible by the technology backbone behind it. So Rally Navigator, Onyx, those are all built on Mapbox as well, and that's how the competitors can really go off and do these amazing things. And it is amazing what these women have accomplished.
Now, Marina was just telling me before that you have got into off-roading because of the Rebel.
I have, and I came at it in a completely random accident. we had two women who were actually already signed up to go do the Rebel training, and one of them got COVID. And so I had basically 3 hours to make a decision, pack my bags, and get on a plane to come to Rebel training.
Oh, we're in Okatia Wells?
In
Ridgecrest.
In Ridgecrest.
Yeah.
And so that's what happened. And I said, okay. And it was sort of like, well, we need a backup to the backup. And I said, okay, well, who is that? And they were like, well,
You.
I think it's you.
The backup to the backup.
Yes.
In fact, you just gave me a good little segue for our Rebel U training. If you're thinking about doing the Rebel, you don't have to sign up and come and compete over 8 days. Emily does trainings throughout the year with all of our partners. And so get on to rebelrally.com and check out our trainings.
Yeah.
And so what did you get out of that training?
I have to say that I've been to, in the 25 years of my career, it was probably one of the best leadership trainings I've ever gone to. Wow. And even if you don't compete, even if you don't, drive sand dunes, which is really scary, actually, it will teach you things about yourself that you probably can't learn any other way. And
it's like a mini Rebel, right? So a lot of people do the training.
Yeah.
Maybe 3 or 4 times, so that's their event throughout the year.
Yeah.
And then they'll commit. And if you do the training, you can actually meet a driver or a navigator there, because it's really hard to say, well, I want to do this event, but my neighbour and my sister is not interested.
Yeah.
You find your people at
Yes.
Rebel U.
Yes. The most fascinating women are participating in Rebel U, and I've learned so much from, the people that were there, the teachers, also from my teammates who, kind of welcomed me into this craziness. They kind of jumped me into the gang. That's how I like to.
You're identified and then pulled into the web.
Yeah. It's like you have 2 minutes to decide. Are you going or not?
It's been really fun on the live show. We've had the Mapbox Minute every day, and it's been so great. So Marina and Megan from Mapbox came to the rally this year, and it was their goal to experience every part of it. I know Marina was out with Jimmy Lewis for a whole day.
Yeah.
I don't know did he put you on the back of the bike? He did? Did he put you on the back of his bike? He probably stopped doing that after I did it, and then I made us fall. Jimmy will kick me for saying that. But then they would go out and they would do putting up tents and logistics.
Yes.
And so their depth of what the rally involves is going to be fantastic to report back. Now, one thing I've asked everyone today, now that we've renamed this Margaritas and Maps, it's a good name, isn't it? I'm not driving today.
You know what? It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant.
So the question is, if you have any map to bring to the table, what would it be and how has it changed your life? Now, we are going to showcase a map that you guys made for everyone today. So everyone is able to take this home, which is fantastic. And
yes.
If you've been watching live, this giant snake is showing us every day where we are on course. So talk to us about this map.
Yes.
I think it's great.
Yes. Okay. So first of all of the people that came to Rebel this time, all women. Mapbox sent the Mapbox women to come and represent. And this map was also made by a Mapbox woman. Her name is Mel Imfield. And there's just something. First of all,
I'll hold it. And you can speak to it.
There's just something so beautiful about maps. But what's particularly meaningful for me to this represents for me both the past and the future. I never knew about Rebel. I had no. In fact, I actually recorded a video in the Las Vegas airport when I arrived, for training, where I was just like, when they say like Asian female driver, that's me. That's kind of how I felt about it. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing here. I have no business. My husband actually said to me, "You're gonna die."
Oh my gosh, there's so much doubt in this podcast.
So much. There was so much doubt, and so like when I showed up and I did it. I did the training. It was just like, okay, I survived it. I can do this. And then I actually called my best friend and I said, she's like 70 years old, and I'm like, you got one more adventure in you? And she was like, why? What were you thinking? And I'm like, off-roading.
Oh my.
And so this is the map of the whole like Rebel rally this year.
Top to bottom.
Yes. And I can't wait to be holding next year's and possibly as a competitor. So
absolutely. I know what year was it when the first Mapbox teams, I forget what year it was, but I feel like Mapbox is back in, and now we've got all these women that are like, I think next year we might have a quiver of Mapbox teams.
I think we may actually have a quiver of Mapbox teams. That would be wonderful to do that,
especially
for sure.
with Marina and Megan's
yes.
details on how to incorporate that. So
Yes.
I think we've sucked them right back in. Well, thank you so much for giving us
Thank
some of
you.
your time. It was lovely to finally meet you.
Likewise.
And we're going to go look at some more pictures about our grand adventure chasing these rebels down to Glamis where the storm is impending.
Fantastic.
Welcome back. So after I competed in the rally in 2017, I started working with Emily on content. That's my background. And I was absolutely in awe of the videography and the photographs. I just couldn't believe that a little event like this was producing such high quality content. And I'm really stoked to be sitting here with one of my favourites, Daniel Mayfield, who is Emily's nephew. Daniel is a videographer. Tell me a little bit about how you capture these incredible drone shots out here in the desert.
Well, Emily and Jimmy make it pretty easy for me to capture the landscape because they basically have the most epic desert landscapes that we have to offer in North America. So it's pretty easy. They've done a pretty good job for us just to, put up the drone and capture the stunning terrain that they've decided to put the course through.
But you've got to be able to drive it.
Yeah. I do drive myself, and then, luckily I've done a lot of off-roading with Emily, and she's taught me quite a bit there. So yeah, I drive myself, and then we get to these awesome locations that Jimmy and Emily put on the map to say, this is a really, really awesome spot, go here. And yeah, we get up there and just capture the absolute beauty.
And you should see Dan's van. It's not a van.
It's not a van, it's a truck.
But why are you Dan Van?
It's not Dan Van. It's Dan Life.
I get it wrong every time.
I lived in my truck for 2 years, and so I instead of Van Life, I did Dan Life on the license plate.
And you no longer live in your truck?
No, I'm actually in a home. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So one of the questions I'm asking everyone on Margaritas and Maps today is, how has the Rebelle changed your life? And I was like, well, how are we going to do this with Daniel? But Daniel said that after he worked for the Rebelle the first time, it really changed the way he thinks about who he's going to work with. And the fact that you now really only work on mission-driven projects. So talk us through some of the other projects you do and why you are focused on mission-driven like the Rebelle.
Yeah, as a storyteller and a videographer, you start to, well, at least I've started to ask myself what projects I'm trying to align myself with, and you try to find those types of projects that kind of resonate with the soul, or at least I've tried to. And doing the Rebelle the first year is just really cool to see how it's changed the women's lives, and it really pushes like the human spirit to the extremes, and I really like capturing those stories. I think it's really important. And then, I worked on Bethany Hamilton's documentary, and she's one of those, she's she's one of those people. She was bitten by a shark when she was 13 and lost her left arm surfing, and she overcame. And working on those types of projects to see what the human is capable of and like what the human spirit can like do to overcome is just resonates with the soul. So I try to align myself with those types of projects, and the Rebelle is absolutely one of those, because you can really see how these women overcome. I can't imagine being out here in this type of terrain without a GPS or a cell phone and get around and navigate. It's absolutely fascinating.
And I mean, you have a personal connection with Emily, and it's hilarious. We're all, even during the year and behind the scenes on the Rebelle, in all honesty, we're like, oh, this is going to go to crap. This is a disaster. It's all falling apart. And, you know, we're tired and everyone has their opinion. And I got to say, whenever we get down the line, we look back and we're like, how the hell did she pull this off?
Yeah.
Like, it is a giant beast. So having a personal collection with your aunt, like, what is... I know she's played a pivotal role in your life and your brother's life. Like, how has she been a guiding force for you guys?
Oh, man. I mean, she's been a huge part of my upbringing she taught me how to snowboard. She taught me how to surf. She taught me how to off-road. She's taught me basically everything about navigating. And to see her work ethic, it's really inspiring to see just how hard she works on a day-to-day basis on this event. Yeah, she's a serious motivation for me, as well as, you know, anybody on the staff. So you can see how hard she works. Anyone
that's doing anything, I'm starting a little business, and the first thing she said to me is, okay, after the rally, we're going to sit down and we're going to work on that. Like, no matter who's in the fold, if you're trying to do something different, entrepreneurial or challenging, Emily's the first person to support you. Yeah, absolutely. She's got so much great advice and, like, a different perspective that you might not see. Yeah. So I understand Darcy's coming down. Yeah. Dan's engaged, beautiful Darcy, and she's coming for the first time to the gala. So as I said earlier, we have this huge big gala. We used to go to a hotel in San Diego, and then the competitors were saying, you know, we like being in the desert. We've finished here. We don't want to go and have to deal with the stress of driving into town and yada, yada, yada. So we stay here all day. And then tonight we have this giant big gala with Drew Dickman, and then we have the award ceremony, and I'm really stoked to have Darcy here. Yeah, she's excited too. She's been bummed that she's missed the last couple of years, but excited for her to actually see some of the action and see all the highlight videos tonight and meet all the women here. And some of your epic drone shots, and maybe we can talk her into doing the rally. Oh, please. Should we work on that? Yeah, we should work on that. She's got a new little RAV4, so all we need to do is get a little belly pan on that for her, and let's go. I would love for her to compete. Belly pan, just a skid plate, and you're good. Just put some all-terrain tires on it. Oh my God, I love you. Thank you so much for your time, thanks, Daniel. Katy. Let's look at some more of our epic content, maybe some of Dan's drone shots, and I'll go find another person to talk to on Margaritas and Maps. Thank you. Welcome back. I'm here with Lily Macaruso, fan favourite this year in the Rivian, and this segment is titled Runt to Rockstar. But before we get started on your journey, I want you to tell me who you competed with this year. We know you drove with Rivian, but let's talk a little bit about your navigator and how it went this year.
Alex Anderson is the navigator for the Rivian R1T, and she crushed it. Genuinely, this competition is won in the navigation.
Rebecca Donaghey was just on here.
Yeah,
Yep.
So everybody's already heard that. But Alex is so phenomenal, and I think it's one thing to be a rookie driver. It's a completely different thing to be a rookie navigator. Because
you guys were in the standings from day one.
So I earlier said that we didn't know. It turned out I was the only one who didn't know our standings, because Alex apparently knew and continued to know, because obviously she's looking at our start time and everything. And she was like, I didn't think that'd be good for you. So she kindly...
We protect our teammates around here.
Yes. She is a phenomenal human and has become a member of my family. Like, she's about to get married, and I am celebrating that with her just as much as we are our win of wherever we are now.
Common theme in these interviews.
Yeah.
Like, your rebel tribe becomes your family, and they stay with you forever. So let's talk about your progression. When I first met you, you were a runt. The very first and only intern the Rebel Rally has ever had. So that was my first experience with Amazing Lily, which is her handle on Instagram, right?
Lily Mac Amazing.
Yes, Lily Mac Amazing.
Andrea Bullard gave me that.
Okay. Another great friend. And so she's trucking around, like, dragging garbage, and then the next year I come back and you're working with YB Tracking, right?
Hold please. It wasn't just garbage dragging.
Oh, sorry.
I fixed the food truck. I was in the mechanics pit. I did trackers. I did essentially every time something spun, I was like,
when
let's
it's
go
your
do it.
first year on staff around here, in fact, I warned Emily Benzie about this. I'm like, be very careful, because if it's your first year, everyone is going to pull you to help.
Yeah.
So you're just pulled in every different direction, and then people started to realise that Lily is amazing and she can frickin' fix anything. So I come back the next year and she's walking through the desert with this giant backpack on. And you were in Drew Jackson's team then, correct?
Yeah.
Or did I skip a year? Yeah.
Yeah. I think there were some things in between there. I think there was like a ops team thing, and then COVID hit and our tracker team couldn't come over.
That's right.
And Mike Shirley was heading up our Enduros.
Yeah.
And it was just like, help install trackers at tech. Like, that was the subtext
Job
of it.
descriptions here, my boys know that, are very ambiguous.
Yes. So somehow it became like, you're good at this. Not somehow. We all know. It just became...
You're very good at this, so I want you to clean this toilet.
Yes.
And she's got this giant backpack, like it was so heavy, and it's literally like working out. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. And so then, because you did that, you met the Rivian team, right?
Correct. So Emmy and Rebecca brought Rivian to the Rebel.
Started the EV program.
Yeah. It was phenomenal. We could never amount to that which they started.
Yeah.
And it was really cool to get to be a part of that legacy that they embarked.
Yeah.
So...
And then next thing I know, I get a phone call that Lily is working for Rivian as an engineer, right?
Right. So we have something called the Special Projects team in our company, and it essentially means everything that's not going to take away from production but pushes our identity as a company forward. That's what we handle. Mm-hmm. Which could mean the Rebel Rally. It could mean literally just going to the factory and walking people around. It means engineering something super crazy and off the wall. Like, it's essentially anything to not take away from production, because we want to make sure that we are respecting and getting cars out to people.
And then somehow inside of that job, you made that description make you part of the Rivian team. So my next phone call is, Lily is competing as a rookie this year. And so how did you get involved in being in the team?
So at the end of last year, Em and Rebecca were like, pass. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, this is something we still have to be a part of. And then luckily my executives off of my team are amazing, and they are super supportive, and it became this like, okay, well, what would that look like? What do you want to do? And I was like, all of it.
Wait a minute, that's not in line with pick one thing and do it well, which we always talk about.
Yeah.
So Lily swings between, we've got to focus on one thing, which we often talk about, and now all of it. So that was an all of it moment.
Yeah, it was a, how do you want to do it? How do you want to achieve it? And oh, by the way, like, we need to know now because we have to plan for the whole year. And I was like, great, I'll go figure out what that looks like. And I think it was about 30 minutes, and I had to like try to put together a whole schedule, a budget, like all of it, and be like, okay, this is my like proposition. This is what I'd like to do. And we actually took people that had attended last year because they knew what the Rebel Chaos can be. And then they recommended people, and then based on that we took them to trainings with us, because it's one thing to be like, yeah, I can drive in the desert, or I can navigate, or I'm really up for this, and then like put people in camping scenarios where you go from negatives into
Common
over
theme,
hundreds.
Training. Go to a Rebel U training.
Absolutely.
Get a sense of it, because 8 days in the desert, camping on the ground, I've been there. That's why it's margaritas and maps, not coffee with Katy anymore.
Where's my margarita?
Oh, we'll get one later.
That's weird.
So, okay. Then I get another, like, I'm always getting phone calls about what Lily's up to. Then I get a phone call was it years ago? Oh, Lily just married Drew Deckman's son. So you've done the Carter rally with Emily.
Yep.
You've married, like, this rally has completely changed your life. How did you meet your husband, who is deployed, and do we know if he's coming back next week?
That was the last word on the street, but not confirmed because I haven't been able to talk to him. So up in the air.
But how did
hopeful.
that happen? Like, this is, like, every point in your life has some sort of Rebel fairy dust on it.
So the Rebel fairy dust started with Drew Deckman and his son, my now husband, coming to tour the school that I attended. and we're on this tour, and he doesn't want to attend the school. That's very apparent. And I'm at a motorsports, like high-performance motorsports and engineering school, so like I'm showing engine dynos, I'm showing chassis dynos, engines being torn apart and being machined, so it's not uninteresting, and he doesn't care at all. Drew, on the other hand, was like, this is so cool. You are so cool. This is epic. Do you know what the Rebel is? And it had just ended. Like, I'm talking maybe a couple months. And he goes, you need to be a part of this.
Everything is a surprise with you. This is cool.
Well, then he emailed Emily, however it worked, but essentially there was complete lack of communication. And then 2 weeks before the Rebel started for the second year, I get a call during my finals. And somehow I was like, maybe this is the Rebel lady. Emily Miller. And I walk out of my final, bombed that final, by the way. And I was like, living on a prayer, just going to go for it. And I like step out, and she essentially like has this quick phone call with me in which she goes, I can't pay you. Like, we're doing this. It'll be absolute hell. Like, and I don't take interns, by the way. And she just tries to like set me up for the fact that like what I'm about to go into, like there's no room for any lack. She goes, I don't do that. But I think you're cool. So I'll fly you out here and you can come be a part of it. And I was like,
true
okay.
Emily Miller form. True
Yeah.
Emily Miller form. Now, one question I've been asking everyone today is if you could bring a map to this conversation and talk to the map about how that was a really pivotal change for you in your life, what would it be? And a few seconds ago you told me that that map would be 2010 Lake George. You had a car wreck.
Yep.
And it completely changed everything. Tell me about that.
So around that time, I was actually going pre-med, and my whole life I was like the kid who took like care of the baby dolls, mainly like as if they were sick or something. I don't know. Like it's that kind of, I care about people and I want to take care of them.
Totally.
And in this car wreck, I like shatter my left leg, and like a lot of stuff happens. So going and being pre-med wasn't going to happen.
So you couldn't do your dream. Your dream was over.
Couldn't do it.
From a car wreck.
From a car wreck. But I was working at a mechanic shop down the street because I was like, I don't want to get out of med school and be super poor and like all of these bills to pay. So I was working and pushing through it. And then I was like, cool, well, I have a job, so I'll just continue to do that. Pikes Peak was in my backyard growing up in Woodland Park, Colorado. And I remember the first time I went to the hill climb, and this is ironic since I work for an EV company now, but the ground shook.
Yeah.
And for the mountains to even recognize a moment was crazy. And I was hooked. So a couple months later, I looked at my parents, and I was like, hey, I'm going to move to the Midwest, and I'm going to attend this high-performance motorsports engineering program. And my mom looked at me like, what are you doing with your life? Like, I'm so proud of you, but also, what is happening?
But it sounds like your parents have always been so supportive. And,
Absolutely.
and full circle, every conversation I've had today, it sounds like the people that you pick up along the way and your family are also the true north guiding light for you. And that really shows with your friendships and your relationships with everyone here.
So Mama Hohen gave me some amazing advice. We were sitting down at dinner, whatever day it was, because time is irrelevant here. And I was like, what is the best piece of advice you could give? She goes, rally related, life related. And I was like, hit me with it, whatever it is. And she said to let go of the people that don't bring you joy or support you. And I think that's true for the Rebel, and you find so many people that support you. Like, you're competing against these fierce women, so fierce, but you get a checkpoint and they're there cheering you on. Like, that doesn't exist. We don't have to fight with one another in order to move forward in life. And you're just collecting these epic people along the way, and you're building a bigger and bigger family. And that's, for me, what makes it. And that's the point.
Well, on that note, if you're watching and you're looking for some direction in life, you want to challenge, come to a Rebel U training. You might just meet your people, because I know when I met Lily, I knew that I'd found one of my people. Thanks so much, babe. It's always great chatting to you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Let's go look at some of the content from this week as we chase these amazing badass women down the desert, and I'll go find a new guest. So I'm really excited to be here with Bryn Hinn. He's the Executive VP of Sales and Marketing for Iridium. And I've only just met Bryn, and I've worked with the partnership between Iridium and the Rebel, and I'm just joking with him. Hell, if I'd known your position, I would have just come straight to you years ago. So we always thought that Iridium would be a fantastic partner because we use the ICOM radios and they support YB tracking. And we're like, God, it just makes sense that Iridium, who keeps us safe out there, should be a partner. And I can see Jordan behind us. We talked to Jordan about public relations, and we went round and round in circles. And then I stalked Susie McBride on Twitter. And I said, listen, you need to know about this event. And she became the champion for us. And so she would then push it through marketing and PR. And now we've got everyone on board. So, Bryn, welcome.
Thank you.
Talk to us a little bit about why the Rebel has become important for Iridium.
All right, great. Thanks, Katy, for having me, first of all. And hello, Rebel Nation. It's great to be here. So one of the things that, sets Iridium apart is we kind of do things a little bit differently, right? We're not your standard satellite company in the industry. And why this event is really important, it's really a couple of reasons. One, yes, Iridium provides the technology to keep the drivers, safe in the case of emergency, being able to track them and all that. But really for what the Rebel stands for, right? This is, all women drivers dominating this event and performing really well. And we're proud to be part of that for a couple of reasons. One, you mentioned Susie McBride, our COO. She's, competed in this event a few times. And I think it's important to have her representing Iridium in an event that we sponsor. We've also got our former HR VP, Jill Piovano, is also...
she's a rookie this year.
She's a rookie.
Yep.
I think she did fairly well. I just saw her, and she looks a little worn out, but she still looks good. But the other key reason is that, the satellite industry, I think, and I mentioned Iridium doing things a little bit differently, we're really promoting more women in the satellite industry. I think it's important to diversify the satellite industry, the space industry a bit. And being able to be part of this event, a major sponsor for this event, we're really proud of it. But we're also trying to send that message that says, hey, women are very important, obviously, at this event, but also key contributors to the satellite industry. We just hope this can help promote that and grow that a little bit more.
Well, I did an event with Emily and Susie a couple of years ago, way before COVID, and we brought some young women in who were into STEM.
Yep.
And they were in college, and I have been gone for a year, and I came back, and one of the young girls was here.
Yes.
And she had found someone at the training and then got involved, and she's still in college. In fact, I'm going to interview her here shortly. And just, folding those younger women in, and she's like, I've done the Rebel 2 years now, and now I feel like a badass.
Yeah.
And it's like promoting the confidence. And,
yes.
I don't know if you know this, but people often say, why is it all females?
Yeah.
Emily gets a lot of men, and my husband's Marine. And the Marines train their women independently as well. And it's like, I think if there were men in the trainings and men here, it's not that they couldn't compete, but it's a very different energy, and the women gain the confidence.
Yes.
And then they can go out and compete in whatever they want with men. So it's not like this big feminist play. It's just a really wonderful environment.
Yes. Yeah.
And that was so great to have the feeders come in. Now, I'm going to put you on the spot.
Okay.
I've asked everyone here today at Margaritas and Maps, we changed the name, what is a map in your life that's kind of changed the way you look at things? Like, what's a pivotal point in your life that you could put on a map?
Yeah. It's a great question. You are putting me on the spot.
Yeah,
but
sorry.
you know what? I'd have to go back to really my roots, right? And I grew up in upstate New York, right near the Canadian border. And my parents were Canadian citizens. They were born in Canada, lived in Canada. All my relatives are in Canada. Then they migrated to the U.S., and I'm a U.S. citizen. But just, Canada is a unique country. I, consider myself to be partly Canadian.
Commonwealth,
The Commonwealth, yes. And I think it shaped kind of who I am as a person.
It's a different mentality,
It is. Still, driven, want to be successful, want to help people. And I think some of that comes from my Canadian roots in that, Canadians are, very forthright, humble people. but they also like to be recognized and contribute. And I think if I had to pick one spot on the map, I'd say being, from upstate New York, but being really associated very deeply with Canada, I think it just shaped who I am as a person.
I feel the same way about New Zealand.
Yes.
And I know that boys in the live, a lot of Canadians on our live team are going to be stoked that you said that. So now, is this the first time you've been to the Glamour Sand Dunes?
It is. Did
you get out yesterday?
I've been on the West Coast all week. I had some business meetings in San Diego, and I drove out to Palm Springs last night in the dark. It was not as treacherous, I'm sure, as some of the Rebelle drivers, but it was pretty treacherous for me. But so it's the first time here, and just went through the dunes and then came here, and one of my first reactions was, I can use the word now because you used it, was I just got here and parked my little rental car next to all these really cool vehicles, and the first two words that dropped into my head was, this place is badass. I mean, this is not for the faint of heart. You've got to be on your game. You got to be really talented and skilled and confident in your own capabilities to participate in this thing. And I'm looking forward to spending the day here and really getting a bit more involved and introduced to the whole environment.
So the sponsor of the dunes is a woman named Nicole Patel, and she is the owner of Total Chaos.
Okay.
And I'm going to make sure that you meet her, and I'm going to get you out in the dunes today, and then we can probably have a cold drink and discuss that, because it's going to be very fun.
I think that's on my itinerary, and I know I've got to sign my life away before I do it, but I'm looking forward to it, and hopefully I'll come back to be able to have that drink with you.
Just sign the waiver. I love that. As long as you sign the waiver, you're good here. Well, thank you.
Will.
It's so great to finally meet you. Thank you so much.
All right.
And I look forward to having that cold drink with you soon.
All right, absolutely. Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Let's go back and see what we did chasing these women through the desert, and I'll go find someone else to talk to.
Honestly, this Bronco doesn't need any upgrades.
Taking this Bronco Sport through some of the terrain we went through made me totally in love with the X-Cross class.
That thing is awesome in the dunes, it's awesome in the desert, it's very comfortable for us.
Get lost without getting lost. When your adventure takes you off the beaten path, Iridium is there. Whether you're camping in the woods, hiking a mountain, or sailing the ocean, Iridium satellite communicators keep you connected regardless of weather conditions, terrain, or location. Built to be portable, rugged, and easy to use, Iridium and Iridium connected devices deliver peace of mind for you and your loved ones through real-time two-way voice calling, text messaging, photo sharing, social media, GPS, weather monitoring, and SOS. even in the most remote locations. Choose from a selection of products ranging from satellite phones to Bluetooth-enabled hotspots made by the brands you trust to call home. Share the moment or get help when needed. So, get out, take a hike, seize the day, but stay connected. Iridium, your world, our network.
What time was our reservation?
It's at 7.
Great. Will there be valet?
I'm here with the lovely Melly Barrett, who did the Rebel in 16 and 17, and you won the X-Cross with Sabrina, right? Sabrina, beg your pardon. So she's won the Rebel, but now she works with Chrissy, head of scoring, on scoring. Can you talk to us a little bit about what it's like to be behind the scenes in scoring as we chase these Rebels down the course?
It's so fun. It's so much work. We spend our day handing out paperwork in the morning, so when they get up in the morning, first thing they get their checkpoints for the day, and then all day we spend prepping for the next day and also watching the tracking live so that we can see where people are. We review penalties, we check scores throughout the day, and it's busy. We are busy all day long watching teams.
Do you know how long it took Chrissy to develop the scoring system?
I do not, but she and her parents did it together, and they've done an incredible job.
Like, it is so elaborate.
It is elaborate.
And so when you competed with Sabrina, what year was that when you won?
2016, and we competed together again in 2017, but we didn't win that year. We came in second.
And what vehicle were you in when you won?
2017 Honda Ridgeline.
Nice.
Yeah, it was great. It's a great truck. Goldie.
Goldie.
Oh,
that's
Goldie.
Right. That's right.
Yeah.
Now, do you work with the rally? I know whenever I come out to San Diego to visit Emily, you're around. You live in San Diego, right?
I live in Encinitas.
And it feels like we've touched a little bit on the tribe Rebel in this segment, and it feels like wherever you go there are Rebels. I think there's a real pocket of them in San Diego. Is that right?
There's a few, yeah, for sure. It's nice, and it is a community that, starting from whenever you are a competitor, you immediately have, well, for my situation, I had 36 teams the first year, so I had 72
Gosh,
people.
that's not a lot compared to this year, is it?
It's not. Yeah, it's crazy. But immediately you have a community around
Friends
you.
for life.
For life, yeah, and it's so fun. Everyone stays in contact throughout the year, and a few people drop off here and there, but for the most part, everyone's happy to see each other every year when they come here. And
it is. Some of us only see each other once a year, but it's like, oh my gosh, the rally, there's the stress of it. But then when we get here, we have these fast friendships, and it's only a few days, and we all say, well, let's keep in touch, let's do something together, and you never do. But it's like a long-lost friend, the ones that you don't have to see a lot, but you pick up where you left off.
Exactly. It's like a very happy reunion every year. It's so fun.
So talk to me a little bit about we've asked a few people this today. You've done the rally, but then we also have our own rally being on staff. Talk to me a little bit about how different it is being a support person versus a competitor.
Okay. Well, as a competitor, you're only worried about yourself and your vehicle and your teammate. And that's only 3 people, or 2 people in a car.
Very focused, right?
As a staff, yes. It's very focused, and it's specific. You have specific tasks, and you're hard focused all day long to get down the road to those points. And that is your focus. You come in, everything's done for you. You don't have any other worries. Behind the scenes, it's very different. So behind the scenes, we're making sure everyone doesn't have to worry about those things. So when they come in, there's food, there's water, there's showers, there's bathrooms, there's working, functioning base camp.
I think you've really hit on first of all, they're analog, so their focus is the paper and the map.
Yep.
But what I've learned about staff members at the Rebel, you're on scoring.
Yep.
But yesterday I saw you trudging through the desert with 8 bags, 2 boxes. I'm like, do you need some help? No, I've got it. And if you're a staff member here and somebody needs help in a different discipline,
Yep.
everybody's there to make it work, and that's the difference. It's not so intentional, but the competitors don't see that.
They don't see any of it. They see the result of it, which is amazing. And as a competitor, I felt so supported by the staff, which is why when I knew I wasn't going to compete in 2018, Emily asked me to come work on scoring, and I jumped at the chance because I wanted to be able to be in that supportive role because I loved it.
And I don't think the competitors know this, but if you're listening at home, the ratio of competitor to staff here is give or take a few, 1 to 1.
1 to 1 right now.
I mean, so when you come in as a competitor, you are seeing a completely different environment than what we're doing behind the scenes.
Yep.
But the symbiotic relationship between, like, if Steph from Base Camp Design said to me, hey, can you hang some of these amazing things up, I would do that for 2 hours for her because we're all so supportive.
Yep.
And it's a great group to be part of. Now, I've asked everyone this question here on Margaritas and Maps,
Okay.
my new thing.
Margaritas and
I
Maps.
changed the name.
I thought we were Coffee with Katy.
I know, but I've been traipsing through the desert for 7 days.
Where's my drink?
Oh, we'll get you some. We'll get you some. So the question I've been asking everyone is, if you could bring a map to this chat that was a pivotal point in your life, what would it be? And talk to me a little bit about that. It doesn't have to be an actual map. It could be, a water bottle. Like, what has moved?
I think for me it's more of a feeling.
Okay.
More of a do what you're passionate about, because then you live a better life when you're happy and you're doing things that make you happy. And so I think that is that would be my map. That's what drives me.
So listen to your gut.
Yeah. And do things that make you happy. This is
that's something I've been saying. Maybe it's my age, but if it's not fun, F
don't
it.
do it.
Just don't.
Don't
Why
waste
bother?
your time. Yeah.
So if you're looking for something fun to do, come join the Rebel with us, because I'm having a blast, and looks like everyone around me is. So
Everyone's smiling.
especially now that we're done, right?
Yes. Oh my gosh. If
We
they're
don't
not, they might be sleeping.
We don't have to chase anyone, except that storm's chasing us,
Yes.
which, because everyone has a different weather app.
Yeah, it's so many. Everything has a different number. We have no idea what's coming.
So it's kind of exciting.
It's very
So
exciting.
is that crazy of me to be excited about the impending storm?
No, storms are fun.
All right, well, I'm going to go check the weather app, which is going to be wrong, and find out when the storm's going to hit. And let's take a look at some of the great content our team has got coming down the road. Thank you so much. Welcome back. I'm here with Julia Bigwood. Your name has come up a lot this morning, which is why I had to pull you over. Yeah. Now, we first met in the dunes in Reno at a Rebel training. That's been a hot topic this morning. And you came in as part of a STEM program, and we were working with Susie McBride.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, we love to bring people that study STEM into the Rebel fold because they're the brains of the operation. I understand you're still in college?
I'm in a graduate program now. I just started my second year, yeah.
And what are you studying?
Climate science.
Oh, wow. That's really cool. And how old are you?
23.
Okay, so at that training where we met, we also both met Catherine, your driver, right?
Yes.
And then I've been gone a year, but you competed last year with Catherine, right?
In 2020.
Okay, so they've competed in 2020 and then this year. And I understand that last time you competed, it was a real learning experience.
Oh, yeah.
So talk me through your first year competing.
I mean, you always go into it and they tell you that the rookies are never going to win it. They're never going to do well. And you always are a little cocky. You're like, what? I can do this.
Yep.
I trained for this. Like, it can't be that hard. But it's not until you're out there getting up at 4 a.m. every morning, pulling 16-hour days that you're like, it gets to you. Like, you're doing so much at once, and it's so challenging that it really gets to you, and things that might look simple on the map are not simple.
And Emily always tells everyone, staff and competitors alike, that there's always a day 3, and you might, in day 3 is the mare, complete nightmare. And your day 3 might be on day 1. Ours was. We got lost actually trying to find the first base camp. And some people might have a day 3 on day 5. So in your first Rebel, when was your day 3?
I think it was day 3. We got lost. I think we were headed to base camp 2, and we had a roof rack on our car, which at the time seemed like a great idea. We had all of our tools in it, and you know, we're going over so many whoops, and we'd lose a bolt here, we'd lose a bolt there. And, you know, it just kind of became the norm. We were like, what's another bolt? And then finally we're going over this one whoop, and mind you, we're like an hour late to base camp, running on fumes, no idea where we are. And we hear this smash, and the roof rack has
I remember this.
Come loose, smashed our back window.
That's right.
Shattered it into pieces. And so our motto for that day was cloudy with a chance of nuts and bolts.
That's so perfect. So that's day 3. Now, did you have a day 3 on day 3 in this rally?
Kind of. We had like a slight low point, but it wasn't a dramatic, like, this was terrible. I'd say, if anything, day 6 was our worst day.
Wow.
We struggle. I think for me, I really struggled with trusting my instincts and my self-confidence. There were a lot of points where I would take a heading and I would think that we would need to go one way, but every single rebel in front of us went the other way. So, naturally you're thinking like, I must be wrong.
You're tired, the desert's messing
You're
with
nervous,
your head.
you don't want to get lost out there. So you're like, I must be wrong, let's follow the pack. And then like half an hour later, the pack would realize we were going the wrong way and everyone would turn around. And then you're just kicking yourself because you knew better.
Yeah.
But like, you don't want to go the wrong way in the middle of nowhere, so
let me backtrack a little bit. So after you met Catherine in Reno at that training, did you just keep in touch? How did you end up competing together?
Okay, it's a bit of a funny story. So after the training, everyone that I was there with had kind of split up to go their separate ways to go home, and I was in a hotel because I had to fly back to Boston at the time. And I noticed that two of the other women, who was Catherine and who was going to be her teammate at the time, were there too. And I really wanted to get dinner. And I didn't know how to get dinner. And so I was like chatting on the phone with my mom. I was like, yeah, but I'm hungry. Like, I want to get dinner. And I told her that there were these...
I didn't see this coming. I'm hungry, okay?
I'm a very food-motivated person. So I saw the two of them outside, and I was kind of creepy. I was like, oh, I see them. I'm sure they're going to eat.
Maybe they're going to get me some food.
So maybe I can, like, go, because I didn't have a vehicle, so I was like, maybe I can hop on and, like, get dinner with them. So that's exactly what I did. And I was like, oh, hey, guys, can I grab dinner with you? And so we ended up, like, going to dinner, and it was nice. It was wonderful. But that was like basically how I met Catherine. And then aside from the training, we just had that nice little dinner together. And then a few weeks before the rally, her teammate wasn't able to do it. And she had known me from the training and just called me up.
And what vehicle were you in that year? Because I know you did the G-Wagon this year.
We were in a 2000 Land Rover.
Okay, cool. Now, Catherine came over to me about 45 minutes ago and she said, you've got to talk with Julia because as your driver, she's witnessed your progression, meeting you in Reno. And then last year, as you've said, you're a little bit unsure and it was a learning experience. And then this year, you've tapped into the desert playing a role and messing with your head and trusting your gut. And she said she saw a transformation yesterday. And what I've been asking everyone today is if you could bring a map to the table that can illustrate a point in your life that's been pivotal, please do so. And I'm quite stoked because Julia has a map from yesterday, and what her co-driver or her driver says is this was the moment when Julia went from being unsure and not trusting her gut to, you know what, I am freaking good at this. And I'm going to let you say the direct quote because I loved it. Go for it.
I would say when we competed in 2020, we were the dunes bitch. And it wasn't until this year that we got to our checkpoint 4. It was right here, and the dunes were our bitch. So that was pretty empowering.
And that has completely transformed you. Catherine's like, she's a different woman. Like, we turned up here, and I've got one Julia, and now I've got this badass woman who is so confident. And when it comes to navigation, that is crucial because when you're following the pack and they're going the wrong way, just like in life, metaphorically, right? Let's follow these people, and if you don't go with your gut. So how do you feel about that in terms of your life?
Oh, so much about the rally translates to life. And when you think about it too, if you make a mistake, you want to own up to that mistake as your mistake. But it feels so lousy to make a mistake that wasn't even yours to take in the beginning. So when I followed everybody else and then that turned out to be the wrong path, I was so mad at myself because it wasn't really my mistake. Whereas if it were mine, that's when you can really learn and you can own up to your mistake and do better next time. But if you're just following the pack, you're not really learning. So it's truly a great way to translate skills from the rally to real life.
It's like when I'll never forget being in a big meeting with a bunch of executives after I did the rally, and I was too scared to, it's that situation where you're too scared to ask a question. You feel like it's a dumb question.
Yeah.
And then the person next to you asks the question and everyone goes, what a great question. It's like, damn, I should have done that. And it's having that confidence. And I feel like I'm really stoked that you brought a map from yesterday, and you probably want to frame that one. Thank you so much
Thank
for chatting,
you.
and I hopefully will see you here next year.
Sounds great. Thanks, Katy.
All right, let's go and see some of the great content that the VOD team has pulled and the live team has created over the last 8 days.
I really created the Rebel to have a proving ground for people, products, and vehicles. It doesn't matter how your vehicle's powered, whether you have a traditional petrol vehicle or you have an electrified vehicle.
This year we have the standard 135 kilowatt hour battery pack. That has an EPA rating of 314 miles, but that's in ideal conditions.
We are real world testing these vehicles in the way that people want to use them. They want to go out and adventure. They want to go camping in the car that they often are doing the daily commute in.
So we are a little bit lower than some of the other vehicles. Some of the 4x4s, of course, have lift kits and things like that on them. So I think for us, in addition to range, vehicle clearance is very important.
Last year we had 2 electrified vehicles, one EV in the 4x4 and one PHEV in the X-Cross class. And this year we have 7. It's an exciting program for us, and we're learning a lot. And the companies that are involved are learning a lot.
I love how with the Rebel they've also taken the renewable innovations who gives us the power to change how the base camps work as well and make those greener.
It was also important to us that we worked on having a program that powers these cars with renewable power. We can't have those cars not able to be powered in the desert. So that's what's been really exciting about working with the renewable innovations. They had large-scale solutions and experience and problem-solving skills, and we needed that.
This year we brought back the same vehicle because last year was in our minds like a science experiment, a little bit of a beta test. So we decided we wanted to come back and give it a go and go for a win in an electric vehicle.
Yeah.
That would be really awesome.
The Rebel Rally is the longest competitive off-road navigation rally in the U.S. It is remote, unique, and extremely challenging. When we launched the Rebel, we needed a robust, multi-function tracking system to serve as the backbone for course and safety operations. Unique to the Rebel, it also has to interface directly with our real-time scoring system. The tracker must be reliable, durable, and never fail, combined with superior customer support. We chose Iridium-based YB tracking. It's the best product and the most experienced people. YB tracking has been a critical component of our safety and success since day one.
What would you see through your windshield if it were scrub blade equipped? Scrub blade, built for life's adventures.
Welcome back to Margaritas and Maps. This has been really fun. It's been a new concept that we're testing this year, and I've gotten to know so many rebels this year thanks to Nicole Dreon, who's been a photographer on the rally for how many years?
This is my 7th year.
Okay, so you're an OG.
I am an OG
year.
every year.
And Nicole this year has been a photojournalist, and instead of going out on course and getting shots of the vehicles and the terrain, she's focused on the rebels, and she's done a lot of research this year and got some of those nitty-gritty stories that we don't always hear about. So Nicole, who's the first team we're going to talk about today?
Thanks, Katie. Yeah, we are going to start with Team 138, Holly and Kristen.
Now, Holly is mom of Casey and Riley.
She's Riley's mom, Riley that's running base camp, and her daughter-in-law is Courtney. And Holly actually competed with Courtney a few years ago.
Mother and daughter team, that's right.
Yeah. Well, actually, Courtney was...
mother-in-law.
She was the girlfriend at the time, so I remember being nervous. I was like, I hope this all works out for them. And Holly has just brought so much great energy to this event every year. And I actually asked Riley about her. I was like, dude, your mom is so cool. What was she like growing up? And he's like, this is so normal that my mom would do something like the Rebelle. We just grew up like really adventurous, mountain bikes on airplanes, going places, and he's like, yeah, this is totally normal that my mom would be doing something like this. And I asked Holly about her teammate Kristen, because they did really well this year. I was so proud of them. And she said, Kristen really brought this confidence to their team. Super solid driver. Holly said she felt so safe with her, and she knew the rules really well. She was really buttoned up with everything. And
that's good, because I think people forget to read the rules, and they think that when they get on course, they can read the rules if they need them. And you're tired, and it's a big rule book, so it's good to read them from the beginning. And I actually can't imagine doing the Rebelle with your potential mother-in-law to be. That's an amazing story. I forgot about that one. Now, what team do you have next up for us to investigate?
Let's look at Team 139, Mandy and Kathleen. Yeah, so Mandy has done the Rebelle a couple of years now, and I always knew her when I was just shooting photos. She was the girl that did handstands when she came across the finish line.
Oh, that's right.
Do you remember her?
Yeah.
So it was cool to learn about Mandy this year. She's a former military vet, that still works for the Department of Defense. And I figured out why she's so strong is because she and her husband own a CrossFit gym.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, they own a CrossFit gym. And she was teamed up with a woman, Kathleen, that has been coming to check out the rally for the last few years. She's a very accomplished writer and produder in
Kathleen
LA.
Grace,
Yeah. And I was so curious, Kathleen's perspective on this event, what her, how she's going to tell this story.
Doing it from the driver's seat. It's a very different experience.
Yes, doing it from the seat.
I saw them come in. So yesterday we made a real effort. Our checkpoints yesterday were to try and talk to every single team as they cross the finish line.
Okay.
And you took a photograph of every single team. And I actually think we hit every checkpoint for the first time.
Did you?
Yeah, we nailed it. We got every single person coming across the finish line. So if you're watching and you haven't seen your loved one, they were on the finish line. Who else have we got?
Well, it's so funny. We gravitated to the same people this time. 157, Catherine and Julia, who you just...
Oh, yes. We just talked to Julia Bigwood.
Yeah, but I actually, I talked a little bit more to Catherine on this trip. I did some pre-interviews. I was collecting quotes and nuggets before I got here. And Catherine wrote this beautiful quote about kind of finding herself in the desert. And I followed up with her today, and I was really curious about it. And she said she's a mom with 3 kids, and she really needed the Rebelle to reset. She said kids will really take you off course.
Oh, I know about that.
Yeah, really. And she needed to hit her clicker again, to come back here and hit her clicker. The tracker, excuse me.
Do you know what it is? Anyone here that has children, it's a real perspective jolt. Like you panic beforehand. You're like, I don't want to leave them. I've got to get organised, and you miss them when you're here. But whenever I get back from the rally, my kids are like, you need to do things like this more often, Mom, because I have a completely different perspective, and I'm not sort of helicoptering.
Right.
I'm like, just go do that.
Right,
it's going to be fine. So, as Mom, and you were talking earlier about Mama Ho, and actually, Lily was.
Yeah.
And Dana Saxon said to me, you just got to let your daughters be who they want to be. And that's such great advice. And that's been a theme in this whole series this morning about, how does the Rebel affect your life, and taking advice from other mentors and being mentees. Like, it's such a tribe. Who else have you got for us?
All right, let's check it out here. Team 126, Brianna and Lola.
Oh.
Yeah, a little bit different. I was curious about Lola because she...
wasn't she here in a bright yellow vehicle once?
I think she was. What I learned about her, she was part of the National Senior Games, the Arizona Senior Games, and when she was 40, she totally changed careers from interior designer to flight attendant.
Wow,
yeah. And I talked to her this morning when I saw her at breakfast, and I was like, what is your takeaway from this event and, your life perspective? And she said women should never be afraid to change career and realize that they're, maybe they were doing this and that now they need to change. Like, not to be afraid to change direction.
Not to be afraid to change. And also, I think perfection gets in the way of a lot of us.
Yep.
It's like you don't want to start that business because you haven't quite figured it out yet.
Yes.
You don't want to go on that off-roading adventure because you haven't got all this kind of equipment and your car's not fancy enough. It's like Rochelle Croft, who presented last year. She has her own company, and her mantra is start somewhere. And we all love that. In fact, Melly was wearing the hat before. Like, just freaking do it.
I know.
If you're thinking about doing something, if you're thinking about doing the rally, you don't have to come and do the whole event. You can go to a training, but just start somewhere. Like, just do it, right? I mean, that's why
it's
Nike,
so hard, though. It's so hard. We know how that is.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
So, who's next on our list?
Next, we have Team 127, Angela and Nicole. So Angela was she was an original Rebel. She was here 7 years ago. She's one of a handful of women. There she is on my right.
And she partnered with a rookie, is that right?
Yep. We got to flip-flop them. Angela's on that side. So, but Angela, we haven't seen her since that original debut, and she came back this year with her sister Nicole, who's 11 years younger. And, growing up, if you're 11 years older than your sibling, you haven't actually spent that much time with them.
Not at all.
Not at all. So over the course of this rally, they've been in more contact than ever, just, once a week checking in on Zoom calls. It was cute because Angela's the older sister, and I was like, what did you learn about your little sister? And she's like, she is way more competent than I ever gave her credit for.
Because the baby's always the baby, right?
Yeah,
okay,
she's
that's
the little
really
baby.
Great.
Yeah, so she's like, wow, I really learned a lot about how capable
I
my
didn't realize they were
was.
sisters. That's a good story.
Yeah, it's a very good story.
Do we have anyone else?
That is what I had on my list for now. Yeah.
Okay. Well, before we go to look at some more of the adventures, we went to the Clown Motel this year. First time I've ever rented a room by the hour with 7 men.
Oh, Katy, you naughty dog.
And the manager of the hotel was like, I'm going to give you each a room, and you, my friend, can have the best water pressure. And it was the best shower I've ever had. But before we go, during the year, you have a business called She Guides, right?
Yeah.
And Nicole travels around the world, staying in different Airbnbs, and you interview people. Tell us a little bit about that, because I think it's awesome. It's a lot of what you've been doing on the rally, right?
Exactly what I've been doing on the rally. Katy, I realized there was a certain point I just love to travel. It's just in my blood. Where I started seeking out women guides and women hosts during my travels. And this was even early on in Airbnb, and asking them, would they do an interview with me? Would they show me around? And I realized it completely changed traveling for me, because I love to travel by myself.
Yeah.
And I would, reach out to these women and line them up in the different towns that I was going to. Then when I arrived there, it was like there was someone familiar there, right? Like all of a sudden I had a friend when I went there. And then we realized no matter where we were, I had something in common with these women. And you could go out during the day, I would do my thing, and I would come back at night, and maybe the light was on. They asked me about myself. I've stayed in contact with a lot of them. And I just think women, like, it's awesome to travel by yourself, but if there's someone with a light on at the end of the day...
Well, you don't always want to be with the same person the whole time.
No.
I'm a little bit like that. Like, group travel, not my thing.
Oh, it's not mine at all. Not mine at all.
So what's your vision for this business? Do you plan, like, can I go, is there a map that I can look up and see where these people are and go stay there and do the same thing you do?
Well, it's kind of like what you said. You know, at first it felt really overwhelming. I'm going to start somewhere, and that somewhere was interviewing these women for my website, and then including their contact information, so you could also find them, and even encouraging you to find your own. So that's where I'm starting. That's my starting point, and then I will, you know, hopefully at some point be branching out.
And do you think the Rebelle has had any influence on you starting a business?
Oh my gosh. Watching Emily Miller, like what she has done, I mean, she weighs 90 pounds. And like
dripping wet.
Dripping wet. Like, for her to create this, I'm like, oh my gosh, she started somewhere and she went places fast.
Yeah.
You know, so, and all the women here are, like, they're exactly the kind of women I want to meet during my travels. They're really inspiring.
Well, thank you so much. It's been really awesome working with you on a different level, and we always said we wanted our own show, and here it is.
We got a few minutes. I like it.
Well done. Well, I'm going to throw to some things that we've done throughout the week, and thanks so much for joining me. Margaritas and Maps has been a bit of a success, I think. Well, I've learned a lot. Thank you so much, and we'll see you tonight at the gala. Just noticing our hats, and Matthew was a little bit jealous of my Matt box hat with the nice leather feature.
It's got leather bits there, Rebelle Rally little shield there.
But
that's pretty proper.
He got a Toyota hat that I don't have, so a little bit of FOMO going on there. And then Harry stepped in with an Onyx off-road hat. And then, give me your camera. Can I have your camera?
Yeah, so we were feeling pretty proud about our hats. And then Will said, what do you think of my hat?
Safety first. Safety third.
Okay, sweet. We can throw that in.
Look how well you can see Adam. You can see Adam really well over there. Matthew Johnson standing here with the Total Chaos project vehicle they nicknamed Seabiscuit. So this is a Lexus GX 460, and we're just going to give you a quick tour of how Total Chaos has equipped this vehicle and is putting their Total Chaos manufacturing parts to use, and then some of the other parts that come along with some of the packages that Total Chaos uses to build. Starting off right away, when you see the front of the vehicle, you can see they've done a really nice job with a front light bar mount. They've got some Baja Designs lights mounted in there. Let's get down under the underbits to really see some of the stuff that Total Chaos builds. So one of the biggest tough guy items that Total Chaos builds are these awesome lower control arms. Each lower control arm is built custom for whatever vehicle it's going on, so it's got the correct mounts for the sway bars. And in fact, these lower arms on my 4Runner have support for a secondary shock. But Seabiscuit is using the latest 3-inch King with internal bypass, and I'm quite jealous on about their smooth ride. One of the other cool things you may not notice when you look at a vehicle like this right away is this really clean trimming. Here we've got most of the front bumper from Lexus still there, but it's been really cleanly trimmed along the bottom to provide access to the tire and a better approach angle. So that's one of those cool things. Other little bits and little details, little supports that Mikey's custom welded and thrown together. If we come here above the tire, we can have a look and see that upper control arm. This is a big piece of their business. These upper control arms allow you to maintain the proper geometry for your alignment when you raise the vehicle, which obviously a lot of people do with these off-road vehicles. They get them a bit more in the air and get the ground clearance higher. Now we've worked our way around to the rear end of Seabiscuit, also running the 3-inch King internal bypass shocks, but it has the trailing arm links and 4-link and Panhard bar from Total Chaos. That keeps the rear axle in place. Actually, when you raise a lot of SUVs or Toyotas, the axle actually moves sideways a little bit because of the Panhard bar. So Total Chaos has the right length bar to move the rear axle back in line to get the perfect geometry again. There are the bump stops that have welded mounts that Total Chaos manufactures, and some other fun bits back here. Just to finish this one off, you can see they've got area lights mounted on the rack. These are just niceties to have for an off-road vehicle. Your dust light in the back from Baja Designs as well. If we take a quick peek inside, you'll see everything's really tidy and down to business in here. Full-size jack mounted, as you'd often wish you'd have when you're changing a flat off-road. You can see the spare mount. This unlocks and the spare actually swings out of place. And they've used some front runner racks there to do coolers and toolboxes. But everything from Total Chaos just has that nice fit and finish that makes all the difference when you're out in the field.
So I'm here at the mechanics trailer with Chelsea and Grace. Now, Rivian has supplied Chelsea and Grace to come and work on all of the vehicles, but what is great is that they also have very specialized Rivian knowledge, because these trucks are basically a rolling computer. So while they're working on the Jeeps and they're working on the Toyotas and they're working on the Broncos, they're also here for the Rivians as well. And like, what's the big difference? Like, how much more difficult or much easier is it to work on the Rivians than the other vehicles?
There's a lot of different complex systems on the Rivian that other cars just don't have. So that specialized knowledge is pretty important if something goes wrong, that we're here for them. Thankfully, we haven't had anything major this rally, so doing good so far.
Awesome, awesome. You know, I saw Lily going out earlier, and she didn't take any weight out of the bed. And I drove that truck last year, and I was like, girl, get that weight out of that bed, you know. So I'm really hoping that they do well. I know there's a new sand mode this year. Did you all have anything to do with that?
No, we weren't involved in the development.
Okay.
But my department worked on it. We've tested it out at our last couple trainings.
Okay, good.
We had good experiences with it.
Good.
Yeah, it was
pretty great. Yeah. It's interesting now, you know, when I first started driving, which was, you know, like 100 years ago with the Model T, there were no drive modes. It was, you just got in and you turned on the key, and what you got is what you got. And now with all these vehicles, with all the computerization that we can get, there's just so much more of a well-rounded drive, especially if you're new to it. You know, you're like, I'm not sure, let me put it in rock mode, let me put it in drift mode, let me put it in sand mode. So that's kind of a cool thing for people. But I do want to go inside the trailer, because I know we've got some pretty cool Milwaukee tools. And let's see if Nick, come here. I want you to show me some of your favorite Milwaukee tools. This is Nick Guyver. He is our big head honcho. He calls me DQ because once he DQ'd me for safety when everything was totally safe. You did.
She got DQ'd.
You get in there and let's see what these tools are. Come on. So it's so cool that we've got this giant trailer. Everything is locked away, so when you're pulling stuff around, it's not rattling all over the place. This is a huge improvement over your last trailer.
Yeah, the new trailer is awesome. We got lots of space, lots of room to keep all the things we have to carry with us. It's 2 stories, so we can get that stuff up out of the way and put a lot more underneath.
Yeah.
And then we've got some Milwaukee tools in the trailer, which is pretty awesome.
All right. Show me. Are these 3 your favorite?
Yeah, I was asked to pick my 3 favorite. And,
okay.
And these are the ones that I use in my shop every day back at home, and they're also valuable here. The 3/8 ratchet is just,
So this is an electric ratchet.
Yeah, you just.
And how can you get different drive sizes?
Yeah, you can get different drive sizes, 1/4 through 3. I don't know if they have a 1/2 inch. I know they have the 3/8.
And why do you like that over a regular, hand-driven ratchet?
Well, it's just faster. Yeah. So when you're, especially general automotive repair, when you're doing it professionally, speed's a big thing. A lot of mechanics are flat rate, so you get paid for the job you do, not for the hours you spend.
Oh, got it.
And it's also out here, it's efficiency. We have 5 mechanics this year, and at one point we had 15 cars stacked up to be worked on. So we don't want to take too much time doing things that we can save a little time on.
Okay, what about this bad boy right here?
Yeah,
Impact?
That's the fuel 18-volt half-inch drive
this
impact.
Is heavy. So, oh my gosh, I'm so powerful.
1, 2, 3, 4.
That's rad. You know what is great? I have a Milwaukee Impact. It's a 12 volt. It's not an 18 volt, so it's a little bit less heavy and it's easier for me to wield. But it's great when you've got that bolt out there that's it's not going to move. You just ratchet on there and you're like, I
had a friend of mine stop by my shop the other day, and he had this big hydraulic ram off of a backhoe, and his 1/2 inch drive pneumatic impact his 3/4 inch drive pneumatic impact, couldn't get the nut off of it. Off the ram, and I brought this out, and I was like, right off. And he went to Home Depot and bought one.
Okay, now this one, I have to tell you, Nick, these are the scariest thing to me. These like cutoff wheels and sanding wheels because of the sparks. Yeah. I'm always frightened by these, so whenever I use one, I have like a full face shield. I got long sleeves, work like I get way too.
Yeah,
way
so
too
having the proper PPE is a huge thing.
Yeah.
These are awesome. You know, like all the fabrication type repairs we have to do is like, this is the go-to. You cut off wheels, the flap discs are awesome on there. But any welding or metal shaping, anything like that, this is the go-to.
Cool.
And in my shop, it was like always corded grinders, and I was like, I don't need cordless. And then I wound up getting a cordless, and now everything's cordless.
And how long do those batteries last on these guys?
A long time.
Really?
Long time. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Cool. Well, listen, Nick, I am very sorry that I haven't been out here to visit you that much this time, because since I'm not competing, I'm not breaking anything.
Yeah.
I know, so I feel really bad. But you know what? You never know. I might come back.
I feel like it's just a matter of time.
Can you believe this guy? Can you believe what we have to deal with? Nick Guyver live from the Mechanics. Actually, not live. We're taping this. We're going tape to live. But this is Nick Guyver here in the Mechanics Bay with our partner, Milwaukee Tools. Thanks, Nick.
Thanks for stopping by.
Why don't you go do something useful?
All right, we're halfway out on the course. On day 7 here at Glamis, I finally managed to catch up with Chris Wu. We're essentially at the Wu Green is how we talk about it. How many cars have been through so far, Chris?
We got the majority of them. We might have maybe another 12 cars left or so.
Okay, so not yet halfway through the day, so we must be kind of early on the course today. I've known Chris for around, 7 years. I met him on the event on the first year. And Chris has always been part of some aspect or another of the crew. Currently, you're called Technical Director?
Thanks. My title is Tech Director.
Okay.
I think for Emily, she just, she in the beginning, she asked me what do I want to do, and I said what needs to be done. So I end up with whatever needs to be done. We do the Tech Director position in the beginning for tech inspection. We make sure that everybody's compliant and all the rules are followed and the vehicles are compliant and fall whatever category. So we answer questions year-round about the required items and items that are prohibited.
Okay.
And then technically, after the first day, the tech day, my responsibility is mostly relief. So after that, I end up on course, helping Jimmy run the team to set up all the checkpoints, tear down the checkpoints, sweep, recovery, if there's field repair, and just make sure Jimmy's got his lunch. That's important.
We don't want Jimmy. We don't want a hangry Jimmy.
We want a happy Jimmy. But usually we're the first out, last in. We set the checkpoints, tear them down, and make sure everything's moving down the road.
Cool. Tell me about Wu Crew.
You're gonna have to ask Josh about that, I think.
So
that has nothing to literally. It might sound strange, but it has nothing to do with me.
Yeah. So there was Wu Crew, and then Riley Casey at Base Camp decided he'd have the Poo Crew, and that's how we ended up with the Base Camp team that handles all the important stuff over there at base camps.
Kind of sounds like one team is better to be on than the other.
Yeah.
I'm not sure which one, but it kind of seems like I don't want to be on that.
Both memorable. So anyway, that's a midday hit out here in Glamis. Day 7, the day we've been looking for. We're having a blast out here in the sand, and we'll catch you later.
So you can tell from looking behind me with this old school Ronald McDonald showing my age, we have found the Clown Motel, and my new best friend Laurie is just inside. Laurie.
Yes, ma'am. Hi.
Laurie calls herself the clown bitch. And she is my new BFF because for the first time in my life, I just rented a hotel room for the hour so I could have my first shower in 3 freaking days. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Now, how long have you been here at the Clown Hotel?
Almost 8 months.
Okay. And Laurie came with some guys from the solar plant, and when her boyfriend left, she said, no way, I'm not going back to the swamp, I'm staying here. And you are actually, we're from an event called the Rebel Rally, and you are a rebel at heart, because you told me that you go off-roading.
I do.
Can you show us what you found a couple weeks ago?
Yes, ma'am. Watch. Let me show you.
So she was out back, off-road.
And believe me, it put me in shock. There you go, guys.
Gold teeth. And what was with it?
A 1916 silver dime.
So it's the history, not
It's
the value,
the history, right?
And then what about that rose quartz you found?
Oh yeah. Check
Here,
this
let me
out.
hold that.
There you go.
I'll hold that. So
Well-
then she finds this beautiful, I'm like, rose quartz, but look at it. It's a freaking arrowhead.
It is. And it's my birthstone.
So I think we have found a true rebel right here at the Clown Motel.
Hi.
Now I want you to follow us tonight because we're gonna have you on the TV.
Oh.
Okay. Now I'm gonna go over here because Laurie told me I had to read this out loud. And I'm gonna put my glasses on, showing my age again. Daily Desert News Plus, published November 9th, 2021. Family of 8 dies after house erupts into flames in the low desert, but the child's clown dolls were untouched by the flames. Some wonder, were the clown dolls truly cursed? Make you think, do they have trapped souls in them? Holy... That's insane. And then...
It is.
So, Laurie, every single thing in here is donated, right?
Every single thing. And nothing is ever sold. Ever. We keep everything.
So have a look at this. How many are there, Laurie?
There's 3,000 or better.
And how many have you got in the back room?
3,000 or better.
And then in the rooms,
old as could be,
which had the best shower pressure I think I've ever had in my entire life, there are clowns on the outside of the doors, right, Laurie? There's art, clown art, in every single room. We've got art here.
Oh, yeah.
Now, do you have any clown events? Like, I mean, do you get a lot of people here that are dressed as clowns?
Oh, yes. By the vanfuls, carfuls, busfuls.
Oh, my gosh.
They come in and they run. We have a blast on the weekends. Y'all just don't even know. And everybody meets at the tables outside. It's fun. It really is. We have little kids going around videoing, telling me they're going to edit this later.
Oh my God.
Kid you not.
I've got my own little kid here. He's going to edit this later.
Yeah, there you go.
He won't need to edit it because you're a fantastic actress. Give me a hug.
You.
Thank you so much. You are my new best friend.
Thank you. It's so nice meeting you guys.
You too.
Maybe one day y'all come back.
Hell yeah.
I hope so.
Hell yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Another shower?
I'll come back just to see you.
Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you.
Thank you. Seriously, a true rebel at heart. It was so great to meet Laurie and to have a freaking shower.
That was awesome.
Oh my God, that's going to be so great. So let me write down where you can see it.
I did it.
Let's go check it out. Let's go check it out.
I mean,
maybe the keys will be in it.
We won't get fired, right?
We're looking at it. We can't get fired.
Oh, well, no, they've got my Diet Dr. Pepper over there, but that's okay. All right, you drive.
Okay.
You drive, because I've had plenty of time in electric vehicles. Yeah, this is like UPS.
Do you know much about this thing?
Well, I know. Oh, I'm so low. Look at how tiny I am.
Probably. I mean, it's a delivery vehicle, so it must operate with the door open.
Yeah, it has to, right?
If we get this thing stuck, we're gonna be so busted.
We're gonna get super fired.
All right.
Okay, you're in drive, yes. Okay.
Oh, I heard a clunk.
Okay, go.
So yeah, I mean,
Ooh.
no one's screaming yet.
Nobody cares. Looks like we've got some good range.
We're all sick of hearing the big diesel delivery trucks everywhere, right? I mean, this is gonna be cool.
This is so quiet. I love it.
I love quiet.
I know.
I mean, I like to make some noise on the racetrack, but in day-to-day life, let's just go whisper quiet.
Yeah, this is awesome.
Don't look over there. I think there's people over there.
No, this is Jade.
But if they can't see us, then they don't know we're the wrong people driving this.
Just drive casual. Just drive casual. You're fine. You're fine. It's all good.
I don't know how to drive casual.
How's the throttle? How's the throttle? Do you feel like, is there a lot of regen happening?
The bumps do make it hard to drive it smoothly. Maybe low range.
Wait, is there a low range?
I don't know, there's something here. Hello. I don't know how to. Oh, there we go. Now we're in L. Okay.
This might be max regen. Oh, okay. Because this is a shifter from a different like GM vehicle. This isn't a shifter that's specific to this.
So as I read a little article, we're talking about this pulls up in your neighborhood with a human driving it, and then that person, I believe,
Get your
like
hands on the wheel, please.
I believe we're going 9.
Get your hands on the wheel.
You
Safety
said be
first.
casual. I believe that like then a human loads up some little carts, and then those carts drive themselves like little drones on wheels, maybe.
Right. Yeah.
But the idea being to make that last mile delivery a lot more efficient and get more trucks off the roads when it comes to little neighborhood driveways.
That's really the problem with last mile delivery, right? Like we've got a lot of stuff figured out. We're starting to get electric trucks. We're starting to get We're starting to get semi-autonomous truckers. Trucks that are going out there, and it's really this last mile stuff that is a problem. So being able to have something like this that's electric, that's not going to be, boom.
Sounds like a delivery truck.
It does sound like one.
So
that's pretty cool.
With the question we need to answer.
There we go.
The question we need to answer is how fast is it?
You got a straight line. Go for it, buddy.
All right. Well, let's get
Are
everybody.
we gonna do a 0 to 60?
Why wouldn't we? All right. Is everybody holding on? I'm told electric vehicles have a bit of torque.
You got a lot of torque. Oh my God! I can't
Is Will
believe it.
braced? You need to put a hand on something. Will.
We are
Okay.
100%
Three,
getting fired.
2, 1.
Go!
That's not fast yet.
Well, it's a
now
heavy
it's
vehicle.
going.
Heavy.
Whoa, yeah.
28, 30, 32, 35, 36,
Using a lot of battery.
42, 45. That's probably fast enough.
Sorry, Will. Nice one. I figured we did a little bit of braking.
Yeah. You probably want to.
Gentle.
Yes, you probably want to
Gentle
do
experimenting
quite a
there.
little bit. Now you can see your energy usage there went a little bad.
Yeah, I think that was breaking the rules a little bit. They probably fire anybody that drives like that while they're delivering packages. Actually, some packages that come to my door look like they've been driven around like that.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
And you know what's great? Like, this is something that you could use not only for Amazon, but you could also use it with the U.S. Postal Service, UPS, FedEx. Like, it would be amazing to be able to have some of these vehicles out and about so that you know that you're getting some nice, clean, silent delivery of all of your Amazon packages. And maybe this is soft. Are you sure you want to go out here?
I don't know. Let's
I
just
don't
keep
know.
momentum. Momentum is the
Professional
secret.
driver.
Yeah. No, I was pretty sure we're fine.
Okay, all right.
It's softer than the road. But,
Yeah.
How many years do you think it's going to be before Bright Drop's got the white body RV conversion?
Oh,
how many van life nerds are going to be trying to build these into living quarters?
Now that van life has got Starlink, the next thing they need is this, and then they just need the infrastructure. I mean, that's really part of the problem that's hindering electric adoption, right?
That and being able to get energy back into it. But we're like maybe a technology breakthrough of solar panels. We're fine. We're like a technology breakthrough of solar panels on the roof of this square footage on the roof of this to be like, I don't know, maybe gain 4 or 5 miles a day of just solar charge.
Yeah.
So if you were camping and it took you 150 miles to get camping and you were going to stay a week, you get enough charge to like come home?
Yeah, you can at least get, a couple of miles. Solar charging for vehicles is not really efficient, but the thing is that we have the technology that we've got today, right?
Yeah.
And it's only going to get better. And EVs don't make sense for some people. Some people's work, some people's lifestyle, it doesn't make sense. But for a lot of people, it really does. I know that if I really want Mazda to build an electric Miata, because I would 100% be all in on an electric Miata.
That would be a tire slayer. That would be a lot of fun.
So
hey, do you think we'll fit through the arch?
Yeah, let's try it.
All right.
I mean, what, nothing
hang
ventured,
out
nothing
here.
gained, right?
I don't know if I'm ready to be a UPS driver yet, but I really do.
Go over here to the right. It's less bumpy.
I really do like this deal.
Yeah.
It's a home. It's someone's home.
Well, it gets cold sometimes. You gotta make do with what you got.
So wait, back to business. I'm here with Jimmy Lewis live because he lives in the present, never in the past. But you live in the dirt too, right? Like, do you actually live in the desert?
I live in Valley of the Dirt People, but that's a whole different story. But I'm out in the desert a lot.
So Jimmy Lewis is our course maven, and he sets the course and
Director.
Beg your pardon, course director. He sets the course, and I don't think anybody ever realises how much work goes into setting this course. The Rebel Rally is years in the planning, right? So take us through exactly what you do throughout the year to make sure that the competitors have a great competition and are really safe.
So it's just kind of there's all these cool places to go and recreate and do the event, but where we can go and where we're allowed to go are two different things.
So so you go out with Emily and you find these beautiful places, and then you say, okay, now we have to turn this into a competition. What is the thinking and the tools behind that?
So I think of, I always say, if I were driving, you know, my truck or whatever, where would I want to go? Where would be the fun place to go? Where's challenging? Where's scenic? Where's all this stuff that we see in the banger shots that you guys get? Like, you see those things? I see those and I'm like, this is the spot.
Now, wait, what do? Do you mark it on a paper map, or do you put it into your phone? How do you?
Yeah, I mark it in the Jimmy positioning system. It's called the JPS. Yeah,
okay, and then how does somebody get the JPS out of your head?
Well, so Emily says, hey, Emily has these ideas of where she'd like to go. We're gonna start here and finish here, and then I kind of string it together, and then we go out and we check some of the stuff, and then so whatever I think, she completely changes it, 100% changes it, and then we kind of come to some agreement, the middle of wherever.
So it's a good union.
Yeah.
She has good ideas, you have good ideas, and then you come together. And sometimes you probably knock heads a little bit.
There's no knocking heads because Emily is in charge. So
Emily's in charge.
I just do what I'm supposed to do. You know, we figure things out, and then we're going to move something from here to there. Or I think this is a good location for a base camp, but then we find out it's like, okay, the base camp doesn't fit there anymore. I'm thinking, 7 years ago, and now we're a bigger event, so we have to have bigger places for base camps.
And I know that Emily then takes this information from the Jimmy database and is putting it into Onyx these days as one of the applications she uses, which is a sponsor of the rally, and another one in your hand.
That's in
icon.
case somebody needs me right now.
Is somebody
I'm not
calling
that important.
You?
No, it's just a beep. If they scream, then I'm worried.
Okay, well, we're going to come find you tomorrow out on the course, and maybe you can show us some of these secret places.
Yeah,
including the one we might be standing on, which looks like someone's house.
Well, I just found this right now because you said let's do a video on a cool spot.
Let's go see if it's a...
Yeah, I want to see too.
Oh my God. Am I allowed to go in here?
Yeah.
Jimmy says
I think so, at least.
You go first. Wow.
There's trophies in here.
If you win the Rebelle, this is what you'll get. Wow, that is someone's freaking house in there.
We were just